Hey, I'm Jeff and welcome back to another video. Taking a jade cutting is the easy part, but what should you do afterwards? Should you let it callus over? Can you pot it up? I'll pretty much give you a step-by-step guide after you make the cut, so let's check it out. I took these cuttings about a week ago from my jade plant that is growing horizontally. I want to use these cuttings as an experiment, which I'll explain a little bit later, but I thought I would show the process of how I pot these up into soil. Now, normally I don't place these in water. I'm simply just cleaning off the leaves as they were a little bit dusty and dirty. So I'm just going to set them all right there, but I do have a number of cuttings that I had taken off the plant. So I'm just going to let those dry there for a second. Right after you take the cut, you just want to make sure that you let it callus over for a day or two. So just throw it in a tray, put it on the counter, whatever it may be. But you just want to make sure that that end is just lightly calloused over, just so it doesn't create any points of entry for bacteria, fungal issues, or even rot. Now, don't get concerned if you've let it go longer than just a few days. I've had them literally sitting on my floor or on the table for several weeks. Over time, they will start to grow their own new roots. So there's not a hard and fast time where you have to pot them up. You just want to make sure that the end is just lightly crusted over. And that's what happened with this one. I laid this literally on the ground here. I just kept it there for a few days, just trying to figure out what I should do with this cutting as content for a video. But I just basically left it there for several weeks and it started to grow roots from the bottom. And that's how I got the idea of laying this cutting horizontally. And it's turned out to be a pretty cool little plant project, which I'm hoping to expand down the road. Now, the next thing is you want to choose a soil that is made or designed for cactus or succulents. This is the VeryPlants succulent and cactus mix. It's just a very well draining, gritty, chunky mixture. It doesn't hold on to moisture for very long. It provides excellent airflow to the roots. Now, you can use other brands like ProMix or Miracle-Gro. They do have a cactus or succulent specific soil. You just want to make sure that it's formulated for these types of plants, mainly because of drainage and moisture retention. When choosing a pot, you want to choose a small pot. This is just a little 3-inch terracotta. You don't want to go with something too large because there's just going to be way too much soil in that pot once you start watering it. Now, for these cuttings, I am going to go a little bit larger because I said at the start of the video, I'm going to be using this as an experiment plant. So I'm going to be using two different types of pots. This is one that I 3D printed. It has this insert, so it's going to be open to air. So I'm really curious to see how the plant or how the jade will grow long term when you have a pot that has these slits on the sides. There's a little bit of a gap on the inside of the pot here as well. I just want to see if there's any difference in the rate of growth or how it grows, even with the root system itself, if it is open to air around the entire pot compared to one that is closed like a terracotta pot. Now, because this is an experiment, I am going to choose two cuttings that are of similar size, and I think these two will be sufficient. They're not identical, but they are very similar in size. Now, if I use something like this, then this is just a slightly larger and it gives it a bit of an unfair advantage. Now, the next thing you want to do is make sure that you have a section of the stem long enough that when you place it in the soil, it's not just going to flop over. So you can't just pot up, the very base or just the very tip here. You want to have a section where it's going to provide some stability and support. And what I like to do is just pull off a few of the lower leaves. So you can just pluck them off. You can propagate these as well. Any leaf that is going to get in the way, you can just pluck it off like that. I did add just a little piece of mesh on the bottom of this pot, just so all the rocks don't fall out. So now all I'm going to do is just fill up each pot with soil. Now, I don't pre-soak or pre-rinse this type of soil. I'm expecting some of the rock to kind of fall out through the sides or the slits here. That's okay. I'm just going to fill them up pretty much to the top like that. Maybe pack it down a little bit. This usually works really good with soil, so we'll see if it does with this gritty mixture. All I do is take a pencil, just kind of make a little hole, and then push it all the way down to the bottom like that. And then you can use your pencil to just kind of poke the soil around the base of the plant like that. You can pull it up even a little bit just so those branches aren't right on the soil. But again, you want it far enough in the soil where it's not going to tip over. So I'm just going to create a little hole like that and just lightly push it down. Or you can simply just place the cutting in the pot and then just add soil in around afterwards. They're not falling out of the pot, and that's pretty much it. Now for watering, there's arguments for both sides. Some people say you should water immediately after you pot it up in some new soil. Now what I like to do is wait about 7 to 10 days. That way it just reduces the chance of rot, because if you give it water right now, there's no roots to utilize that water. So it's basically just going to be sitting in damp, wet soil, and it just runs the risk of rotting the stem. So what I like to do is wait about a week. The plant will use all its moisture and nutrients from the leaves to start a root system. Now, once it's established some roots, then I will give it some light watering, but immediately after repotting it, I don't give it any water at all. Now, one thing you need to do immediately after repotting them is give them a lot of light. Place them in your brightest window, and if you don't have a bright sunny spot, then you can always supplement it with grow lights as well. These plants need a lot of light, and especially when they are first potted up, because they need to photosynthesize so that they can use all the moisture and nutrients to help establish a good root system. So don't just put these on a coffee table or somewhere in a dark corner and expect them to grow. They're probably going to end up rotting. So to have the best chance of success when taking these stem propagations is giving them a good, bright, sunny location. One thing you'll see on my channel quite frequently is my light meter. If you're unsure of the type of light that your plant is getting, just take the guesswork out, get a light meter. This is in the foot candle setting, and I do have it times by 10. So right here, this plant is getting over, or this section of the plant is getting over 2,000 foot candles. The closer the light is to the plant or to the leaves, the more foot candles it's getting. So this is around 5,000 foot candles. So this is high light. Anything over 1,000 foot candles is kind of what you want to aim for, and they need bright light for at least 6 hours a day. These are under grow lights, so they're pretty consistent conditions, and I do have them on a timer for 12 hours a day. Now the next thing is figuring out if your plant is rooted and if it needs water. The easiest way to know if your plant has roots is to simply just pull up on the cutting. So if you can pull up and there's resistance and the stem is not just flying out of the pot, then you know you have an established root system. And what I like to do is water very lightly with this little succulent water bottle. And what I'll do is get in nice and close to the stem of the plant and just give it a light watering like that, because it's probably going to have, again, a very small root system. I don't soak the entire pot just because you're going to have that larger volume of wet soil and you run the risk of rot. Now, it's not bad with the gritty mixture. Like, you can soak this and you'll pretty much be okay. It's a really well draining, fast drying soil, but if you have it in the just like regular cactus mix that is more peat based, that's going to retain moisture for longer than this gritty mixture. But typically this is what I do, is just water kind of right around the base, and then I'll let the soil dry out completely. This little Gollum jade cutting has actually been rooted for quite a while now. You can see a little bit of roots poking out through the bottom. So it definitely needs to be repotted here soon. So since this one is fully rooted, I will show how I water it when it has an established root system. So I completely soak the soil like that, let it drain out the bottom, and I'll do this a couple times like that. And then I'll let it sit in the saucer for probably about 10 or 15 minutes. That way the plant can soak up any moisture that it needs. I will let it drain completely, and then I will set it aside in its bright sunny location. I just want to show this real quick. One of the leaves had fallen off at some point, and you can see there's a tiny little baby Gollum jade starting just at the bottom of the soil there. Now, after you have them repotted, over time they might lose some lower leaves, because again, it's going to be pulling all the moisture and nutrients from the lower leaves. So expect some leaf drop. That is pretty normal, at least for me, in the first couple months. So jade plants are not really known as being like really fast growing plants. I would consider them kind of around that moderate. They do extremely well when you take them outside in the spring and summer. You just want to make sure that you acclimate them to the sun. So put them in full shade for probably the first week or so, and then just slowly transition them to higher light. Jades not only love the natural light, but they also love the heat throughout the summer. So they actually do really well, and they grow pretty fast when they get high heat and high light. So that's one thing to consider once spring and summer approaches. So I'm going to set these aside for right now. I'm actually going to just kind of have like a little bonus material. I'm going to be using this plant pot saucer right here. I'm just going to fill it up with some of this succulent soil, or this gritty mixture. And I'm actually going to be starting another horizontal cutting. I'm going to place all these cuttings horizontally on the soil like this, because I want to start a nice little kind of mini jade forest. So all I'm going to do is place them like this, right on there. I'm going to take off the leaves that are touching the soil. You see this one actually has a little bit of area roots on the bottom. Sometimes this can be a sign that they're kind of searching out for water, or even if there's higher humidity, they'll develop those little area roots. So I'm just going to kind of snug that down, push it into the soil. Same with this one, like that. And all of these smaller cuttings, I'm just going to place right on top of the soil. And then I'll combine this one with the other plant, and I'll have kind of like a little mini jade forest. So stay tuned for further updates on my jade propagations as well as my horizontal jade project. So I think that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. If you have any comments or questions, please leave it down below in the comment section. I appreciate all the support. Thanks for watching my videos. Take care, everyone. Bye.